Worried about your future in tech? Master new skills, accelerate your team's impact, and redefine what's possible with Pluralsight. We're more than just another online learning platform. We're shattering the skills gap and shaping future generations of technologists. Transform your work. Transform your team. Ready to tap in? Visit us at pluralsight.com to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Modern Mom Probs. I'm your girl, Tara. Here on Modern Mom Problems, we're trying to solve the world's modern mom problems. And if we can't do that, hey, at least we're having fun talking about them. And I'm so glad that you're here. I'm always glad that you're here week after week. Let me know what you think of the show. DM me on Instagram. Send me an email. I love to hear from you. I love to know what you're thinking. Today's topic is, well, it's sometimes a tricky, sensitive one. It is dealing with in-laws. So I would officially say that today's modern mom problem is the ever so delicate situation of dealing with in-laws. I am joined by one of my dear friends, Dr. Tracy Dalgleish. She is the author of the new book, You, Your Husband, and His Mother. She has been working with couples for probably 20 years. Maybe that's too long. I shouldn't even say years anymore, but she's been working with couples for a very long time. And she is one of my favorites. So without that, let's crack this wide open and talk about in-laws and dynamics and all of the things that we can do to try to make the smoothest relationship possible when we bring different families together. So without further ado, Dr. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Oh, Tara, thank you so much for having me here. It is always my pleasure to get to sit with you. So thank you.
It is my pleasure. We've been chatting for 15 minutes already before I even hit record because we just have so much fun spending time together, and we covered a boatload of topics. But today's big topic is a huge one. I feel like this is like a huge elephant in the room. We're talking about mother-in-laws and our dynamic in our relationship with them. So before we jump into that, for folks who aren't familiar with your work, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. And I just love your excitement for this topic because I also know that when we ask people, do you have a good relationship with your mother-in-law? Most people will say yes. But when I ask the question, have you and your partner ever gotten into conflict because of your mother-in-law? 85% of people will say yes, they've struggled in those moments. So before we go into that, I am a psychologist. I'm a couples therapist up here in the north in Ottawa, Canada. And I always talk about this front-facing part of me that people see. I'm an online educator. I have digital resources for people all over the world to learn with me. I also have my mental health clinic here that my husband and I own together. But I always like to show the parts of me that people don't necessarily see. And that piece right there is one, we know what it means to have to learn how to communicate and navigate together in our relationship because my husband is the behind the scenes guy in everything that I do. And we also had to really prepare and navigate what it was like to have kids. So I have an 8 and a 10-year-old. And I used to say that doing my PhD would be the hardest thing that I've ever had to do. And yet becoming a mother was truly that challenging, trying time. And I think when we can hear, I'm using quotation marks, experts talk about their own struggle, it really humanizes them, which then also really normalizes what it's like for us to struggle in all seasons of life. And so that's one of the things I love doing. And it's been such a gift to do it. I've done it with you before here. So
yes, I loved your first book. I didn't sign up for this. Such a good one. Okay. So you alluded to it. 85% of women polled in your community said that they have had conflict with their mother-in-law or conflict with their partner, I should say, surrounding their mother-in-law. Why do you think the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship dynamic is so challenging? Why is it so charged?
It's such a good question. And people come to me saying, well, what about him and his mother-in-law? And yes, absolutely. And one of the things that readers are going to get in this book is a system to help you, whether you and your partner, or just you, if your partner's not doing this with you, are navigating your sister-in-law, your father-in-law, or your own mother. The system is going to apply for you. I've created a 5-step method called the VAULT method. And the tricky thing here, though, is when we look at the research and from my clinical experience, so nearly 20 years of working with couples, whether through research or through my clinical work as a couples therapist, the conflict between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law is higher. And we can look at this from several different perspectives. And the one that really resonates is this tension that shows up, especially if we look at the mother-son dynamic. And when mothers struggle to differentiate themselves and have their own identity, nurture their own pieces about them, maybe even doing some of this healing work and breaking old cycles and stepping out of unhealthy family dynamics, when another woman enters the family dynamic, it can feel threatening. And especially right now, because women today are showing up saying, I no longer want to do it the way that previous generations have done it. We talk about conscious parenting or gentle parenting, positive parenting. We're parenting our children differently. We are navigating and dividing the mental load, invisible, visible labor differently. And we are entering workplaces in different ways. We're carrying different roles. And so sometimes for some women in the mother-in-law position, then there's an insecurity that shows up. First, it sounds like, well, if you're doing it differently, does that mean that my way was bad or wrong? And then the second thing that I hear is, do I have a role here still? What's my role? And because oftentimes a big shift in a family dynamic is when the son stops turning to his mom, or maybe never even turned to her to begin with, but then now is turning to someone else and getting that emotional, physical connection with that other person.
You're blowing my mind. I mean, we're 5 minutes into this conversation. I'm like,
I'm so sorry. I should slow down.
No, it's perfect. We are so jumping right in on this.
But it's a cultural moment, Tara, right? Like, I mean, think about what we're doing as women today. And this is why this book is so important. We do not have any resource for the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationship. And I can tell you and every listener that all of the women who come to my therapy room, every couple I have worked with, everybody in my online community, they don't come to me saying, how do I get rid of this mother-in-law? They're not lighting the torch, going to her door and knocking it down. They're saying, how do I exist in this? How do we create better relationships? Because the reality is we don't marry someone and say, one day we're not going to be in contact with your mother. We hope to build that proverbial village. And you and I both know that of what it's like to be in the depths of parenthood and that desire to have someone come in and support us and to see us. And that's where those really tricky family dynamics can show up.
Tricky is the exact word for it. So did you write this for yourself personally? Was this something?
I did not write this for myself personally. But do I take my own advice, Tara? Absolutely. Because here I am a human and I want to take this advice. And that when we think about what shows up in my therapy room, I mean, session after session, women were coming to me saying, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get my husband to see this challenge. And couples saying we have a great relationship and yet we're so stuck in how to move forward with this. And it truly is, here's this man. And I talk about this in the book right away because we have to identify it. I am a mother to a son. And if he chooses a wife, I will then have this dynamic as well. So
yes, same.
Yes, right. And so we're aware of this. And so when a man comes into my therapy room, he struggles because he looks left and he's looking at his mother. And there's a whole history there. And there could be some unhealthy dynamics, but sometimes they're not even aware of it. And so there's that one piece. And so the question is, do I please my mother? Or he looks right and there's his wife. Or do I please my wife? And I say to all people, our job is not to abandon our families of origin. Instead, when we choose that significant other, we are prioritizing the emotions and the needs in our union. We're moving together now as a we. It's us. We are redefining what this unit is. And then we consider bringing in the family and communicating needs and wishes and expectations.
I told my husband that I was going to record this. I think it was yesterday. I said, I'm talking to my friend Tracy and she has a new book out about mother-in-laws. And he was like, oh, really? And I was like, yes. And he's like, are you going to say anything? And I was like, no, I'm just going to sit and listen. I'm just going to sit and listen and be the sounding board for all of those other daughter-in-laws that want to hear all of this information. And because there's a lot.
There is a lot in here. And even when my husband, Greg, talks to his friends, a lot of his male friends have said, can we get a copy early? Can we get a copy now? Because we recognize, right? Like this is a real challenge. And so, okay, I want to really help frame this for listeners because as women, we grew up with a different socialization than boys. And so little girls are often, they're told not to be angry, but they are allowed to have their emotions much more than boys were. So we're thinking, 20 years ago, 30 plus years ago. So we also promote the kind of angry teenage moody daughter. Oh, just wait until she's a teenager, right? I was a moody teenage daughter. I had lots of anger, right? Yeah. So we promote this in our society. And then as a result of that, and I even saw this with my kids. So with my daughter, she was much younger. The first time she ever said, I hate you, and slammed the door, much younger than my son. And so girls learn to set boundaries and communicate their emotions much earlier on, just because of socialization. We're not even talking about family dynamics right here. But for boys, they're socialized to pull up their socks. If you fall off your bike, get back on it. Don't share the hard thing. Don't go crying to the sideline. Get back in. Your team needs you. Don't share the emotion. Don't talk about it. Just keep going. And so many men don't learn to share and express their feelings and needs with their parents, particularly their mother. Again, Tara, we haven't even touched on family dynamics, just socialization.
Yeah.
And so then the kind of pivotal point that happens in my therapy room again and again is men or their partners or them as a couple, they show up after a significant event. And I can usually predict which one it's going to be. It'll be around the wedding because everybody has expectations or desires around that, right? That's maybe a first one. Most often, and it's interesting when we think of the average age that men are having babies, I usually see men around 32 to 40 because they've had their first child or the second one.
Interesting.
And now their wife, who has always set boundaries with her family, not always, but you know what I mean. She sets boundaries with her family. And then she goes to him and says, just tell your mom that she can't just arrive on our doorstep expecting to see our baby. I'm breastfeeding, I'm pumping, I'm trying to air out my nipples because all the things, right? And then your mom shows up at the door. You have to tell her not to do that. And many men, not all, freeze. They don't know how to do it. They've never done it before. Or sometimes, Tara, what happens is they go to their mom and they say, listen, mom, Tara doesn't want you to come over unannounced. You have to text her before you come over. You have to ask. But guess what happens for mom? Mom then thinks it's Tara as the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where some of those earlier challenges start to unfold because and again, when partners do this, and I'm going to say partners in general, I'll open it up in terms of partners doing this with their family, they're not doing it maliciously. They just don't understand and have that insight to know yet that when you put the blame, or it's not even blame, but when you point out the other partner, you're creating the separation between two partners. Instead of saying, hey, mom, listen, we love you. And we know how much you love being grandmom right now. And like, it's amazing to see the bond you're building and you coming over. But hey, listen, we need you to text us in advance and we need to coordinate when that plan is. And we can't wait to have you come over next time, which is so different from saying, Tara doesn't want you. Mm-hmm. She's the bad one.
This one over here. That makes so much sense. I have a quick story to add on that. When my son was 4 weeks old, we hosted Christmas.
Oh, 4 weeks.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Kevin Harlan here. This Black Friday, Prime is taking over with an incredible day of live sports. Black Friday football is at the center of it all, with the Chicago Bears taking on the Philadelphia Eagles at 3 Eastern. Immediately after that, it's an exciting Emirates NBA Cup doubleheader. The Bucks will take on the Knicks at 7 p.m. Then the Mavericks will be in LA against the Lakers at 10. It's the final night of knockout rounds as teams vie for a spot in the quarterfinals. And the whole day starts on the links with the Capital One Skins game as 4 elite PGA golfers face off with $4 million on the line. Black Friday game day tees off with the Capital One Skins game at 9 a.m. Eastern. Then it's Black Friday football with the Bears and Eagles at 3. And it all culminates with the doubleheader of NBA basketball, the Emirates Cup action, featuring the Bucks at Knicks at 7 and the Mavs at the Lakers at 10. And it's all only on Prime.
Yes. And I did not want that. But next thing I knew, everyone was over at our very small apartment in New York City. And yes, everyone brought food, but we hosted, and then I had to clean up after everybody after they left. And obviously I was breastfeeding at that time. I hadn't slept. I had barely showered. And it was one of those things where everyone was like, oh no, we have to come. We have to see the baby. It's baby's first Christmas. And everyone showed up at my doorstep. Just like literally how you just described it is actually what happened to me. And I'll never forget, after everyone left, my husband obviously was still there. And a really nice friend of his was there. He's from Ohio and he didn't fly back home for the holidays, whatever. And it was the two of them. And I looked at everything in the kitchen and I was like, I cannot even handle what I have to do now, cleaning the dishes, the pots, whatever it was. I was like, no, absolutely not. And that still like always like burnt into my brain because that was the baby's first Christmas. It was 4 weeks postpartum, but very much what you said there. That was it. We felt the obligation that this is what we needed to do. This is what was expected of us. And I probably should have advocated for myself better.
We don't know what we don't know, Tara. And I think back to just the thousands of stories I've heard from women in those early postpartum days. and how vulnerable we are and how much we need to be protected. I mean, I hear that story and I want to climb back those years and like be at your front door, be like, no, sorry, leave the food. Yeah, you'll have to come back later, right? Greeting hours are at this time. We will not have dishes. Did you bring paper plates? Like there's just, and as a clinician, it's often so hard because I'm trying to pull myself back to not insert myself, but I want to just protect mothers. And I think because also too, women are taught those 3 Ps from Brene Brown: to perform, to please, to perfect. And it's so ingrained in us that at 4 weeks postpartum, how many people listening can say, I pushed myself too far. I said yes when I should have said no. I know we can all connect to that moment instead of this go slow, make more requests, make our needs known. And oh my gosh, it's just so tricky because then also too, what you're bringing up is how everybody has expectations and they're really not talked about. And so while all good intentioned, the impact can be so heavy. You can't do dishes at 4 months postpartum, 4 weeks, sorry, postpartum after 4 weeks, Tara.
Oh, and I had a C-section too.
Oh my word.
I was getting better from the C-section.
At 4 weeks, you probably likely were still taking Tylenol or Advil to manage pain because, of course, you have how many layers in your abdomen that are healing. And gosh, I think that's what this book is also really about for people, for women, is that even if you have a good relationship with your mother-in-law, if you're newly married, you're about to be married, this is about you creating that foundation and having skills and tools so you know how to do it when the time comes. And one of the couples that I just worked with, pregnant, had a baby, they walked through the method. They had all of their expectations laid out so that they didn't have an endless visit with the in-laws coming into town. They were able to communicate their boundaries and wishes in a way that still maintained connection and kindness and compassion. And I think that's really where this conversation can go off the rails as we go to our partners and we say, you didn't stand up for me, or your mother said this hurtful thing about me. And then our partners, not trying to be rude or ill or manipulative or gaslighting, whatever word you want to put in here. But then our partner's like, well, that's just mom. Oh, mom always makes comments about food. Oh, mom always comments about baby. Like, yeah, I mean, if you don't want to put the socks on baby, then just don't put the socks on baby. But then for women, it becomes death by 1,000 paper cuts. Because every time she knocks on your door and she says, it's chilly out, why don't you have a sweater on, baby? And your baby's like red in the face, sweating inside, right? And it's just moment after moment after moment. And there's this other piece in here. Okay, are you ready for this one?
Oh, I'm ready.
What I see happen is that mothers treat their daughters differently than their daughters-in-law.
Interesting.
They expect their own daughters to break the glass ceiling, to go after their dreams, to pursue the whatever it is. And when their daughters create boundaries, they listen. But then when their son's wife is going back to work, and I've worked through this with many couples where a mother-in-law has criticized my client saying, well, how can you go back to work? Why aren't you staying home? Who's going to feed my son? Well, he can feed himself, right?
He's a 40-year-old guy.
He can make toast. He will eat toast. Right. But, or as my husband says, he likes to say, if you can read, then you can cook. But it is just, it's a really interesting, implicit, unspoken belief that is showing up. And I think so many daughters-in-law today are saying, that doesn't work for me. And I don't want to keep repeating these toxic cycles. Or every time I show up, it's another paper cut and my arms are, scarred and wounded.
Bleeding. Yeah, exactly.
Bleeding, yes.
That's an interesting dynamic about the daughter and the daughter-in-law. But I could totally see that taking place. That is wild because almost inherently, I'm not saying this from me as Tara, but I'm saying this hypothetically, that the mother-in-laws are seeing the daughter-in-laws as not taking on their role, but they need to be subservient to the husbands, right? They have to be there to cook and clean and take care of my baby. Like, you're there now to take care of my baby because I am not there. He chose you instead of me. And so now you have to take care of my baby. Whereas for their own daughters, they don't feel the same way. Interesting.
And this is where one of those difficult family dynamics shows up, which is, really this big piece around how our children are continuously separating from us. I think of my little guy. He's not little, he's 10. But, recently he said, "Hey, Mom, instead of watching a movie, I'm going to go play with my friend at the park." And like that moment right there is him separating from me.
Yeah.
And our children do it constantly. They do it at 4 weeks old when they realize that, their eyes shift and they realize that you're a separate person from them. They do it at 8 months old when they're pushing you away and saying, no, put me down the ground. And so we're constantly in this practice of individuation, separation. It's these psychology terms. But in a healthy family system, we can see that my adult child is separate from me. They have their own wishes, desires, needs, and feelings, and I have my own. And so in a healthy system, when he goes to Mom and says, "Listen, I know Thanksgiving's coming up. We know how important Thanksgiving is. And every year we do the big event. You always do it on Thursday. And if you want to do it on Thursday, that's okay. But listen, this year we can't come on Thursday. We're going to come on Saturday. And I know we won't be there for the big feast. If you want to move the feast, you can, but we can't be there for the big feast because we're balancing this other family." In a healthy family system, Mom can say, "Whew, yeah, that feels hard. I feel a little upset about that. I also am going to understand that you have to look after your family." They turn their kids towards their partners to create that healthy union. And they can see those feelings as separate. And Mom says, "You're not responsible for my feelings. I'm a little bummed, but I'll go talk to Dad and we'll go sit in the hot tub and joke and whatever together. And we get it, okay?"
Do you know my in-laws? I think you actually.
They're not in the sauna. Sauna feels more north.
No, they have a hot tub. They just got a hot tub. So that's actually funny that you said that. It was just uncanny.
Oh, it's so funny. So there's they go do their thing. In an unhealthy family system, though, what happens is there's guilt tripping, there's control and rigidity. They hinge the whole relationship on this one family event. And they say, "Well, I'm going to be all by myself. Why wouldn't you come to this? We always do this. You have to come and do this. Is this because Tara doesn't want to come? Is that why you're not?" And so it just creates this sense of control, rigidity, denial, rejection. Those unhealthy family systems don't want to look inwards. They want to blame. And so daughters-in-law are often made to be the scapegoats in families.
Yeah, you said that and it made me think, because you said the blamers. And so I want to talk about the 6 different types of mother-in-laws.
Yes. I caveat this conversation. So this is my favorite chapter. It is chapter 1. And I believe that when we're in relationship with anyone, you have to know who you're dealing with. That really is about self-awareness and self-reflection. Yeah. So through all of my years, this is not something I just created out of the blue. This is years of working with people clinically and seeing these patterns of behavior. And when I came up with these types based on my experience, based on research, then it was really about saying, okay, hang on, we're not blaming. And I don't want you to go to your husband and say, "Guess what? Your mother's a narcissist." Like that is not, I did not label any of them as a narcissist because that's a clinical term.
I saw that. You made it a point to mention that in the book.
Yes. It's not, I don't want you to do that. But instead, when you understand this group of behavior, and your mother-in-law could fall in a few of these categories, depending on the situation, context, what's going on. When you understand that, and this is what the book's going to guide you through, you then know how you can respond. And that gives you so much agency, choice, and power. And when we have control of that, that feels so good. Okay, so let me walk you through them. So I've divided them into 3 categories. The first one is the internalizers. And the internalizers experience the world coming into them. So they're very focused inward. So that first type is the martyr. The martyr gives endlessly, but there's guilt attached. It often sounds like, "After all I've done for you." Or they go to their friends, "Oh, Tara's just been asking me to look after the kids so much and I'm so exhausted from it." And even though she doesn't say no, she says yes every time. And you had no idea. So that's the martyr. And for daughters-in-law, I remind you, don't take on their guilt. You have to detach from that guilt. It's not about you. And then again, in the book, step 4 is all about boundaries. I couldn't make that step 1 because otherwise your husband would just tune out and say, nope, you're giving me boundaries. Can't do it. Step 1. No. So step 4. But in that chapter, you're going to learn what are the specific boundaries for each one. So the second type then is the victim. And the victim experiences the world as happening to her. I think of this one client where he was pulled into this dynamic because his father had left at an early age, and everything about his mom's life was because dad left early on. And so very much life is happening to me.
Are you scouring the web for the best Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals? Stop it. Get Rakuten. Rakuten is a shopping sidekick that gets you cash back on gifts for everyone on your list. Right now, you can get up to 15% cash back at the stores you love. You can even stack cash back on top of the biggest sales of the year. That's savings on savings. It's more time shopping and less time searching. With Rakuten, you're always saving at your favorite stores on the things you're already buying. Cashback is automatically added to your account as you shop, and you can get paid with gift cards, PayPal, or check. Or eligible American Express card members can even choose to earn membership rewards points instead of cashback. It's truly a no-brainer. Now's the time to join. Up to 15% cashback ends on 12/2. Plus, new members will receive a welcome bonus after minimum qualifying purchases. Just go to Rakuten.com, download the app, or install the browser extension. That's RAKUTEN. Terms and conditions apply.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The second category is the externalizers. So again, we kind of have like 3 buckets. So the externalizers. And the externalizers focus on others rather than going inwards. They focus out. And that's usually through control and criticism. So type 3 is the blamer, mother-in-law type. And the blamer scapegoats the daughter-in-law. And will say things like, we never had these problems before you joined the family. It's one that shows up a lot. And that really is, I'm not going to look inwards to see that my rigidity, control, expectations, how I show up contributes in any way to this dynamic. The 4th type is the controller type. And the controller believes that their way is the only way to do it. This is the mother-in-law that shows up and criticizes you, tells you how you should do things. It's almost like the matriarch. She sits at the head of the table and everybody kind of falls into line with that. Then we think of the 3rd bucket. The 3rd bucket are the balancers. This is a group where they can do kind of the in and out. They can balance inside, outside. And so the 5th type is the distancers. And I think many people can connect with this one in the sense of those who say, my mother-in-law lives 20 minutes down the street and I see her twice a year. Or we keep inviting my mother-in-law to be part of our kids' life and they don't show up. That's this experience. And I think it's so important to recognize this one because oftentimes when I go through kind of the history of the family, we'll see that mom was never really involved in her son's life to begin with and was more absent. And then now that they have kids, they're looking for that village. Well, why aren't you come be part of our life? And she's like, well, she's probably more avoidant and distant. And then the 6th type is the supporter type. And we had to have a category for the supporter type. This is where...
Good. I'm so glad that there is one.
There is. Of course there is. And also, this is such the beautiful thing where people are like, well, we have had conflict before, And my mother-in-law cares about me and respects me, and there's this sense of mutuality. And that's not to say there's not challenges, because when it comes to communicating with someone, there's always going to be this ebb and flow of how do I assert my boundaries? How do I share this with someone? Ooh, they're upset that we're not going on the Thursday. You know, can I hold space for that feeling without being like, okay, I'll come, right? Like, so there is work that we all do in relationships, but the supporter mother-in-laws, I think of the one client that really talked about this. And it was just like, you know, I could share with her that we were struggling in our marriage, but she didn't interject. She didn't blame me or, you know, say awful things or maybe you should do this. She just said, I believe that you two will work through this. And
it's amazing.
Right? Right.
Yeah.
But just that, like, that connectivity and that respect. And that's one of the next questions that often comes after people hear about this book is they'll say, well, how do I make sure that I be this good mother-in-law?
That was my next question. That's perfect.
And it's so funny, Tara. When I finished narrating the audiobook, which comes out at the same time, so the book's available in all formats, and I didn't have this scratchy voice that I have now.
No, I think you sound lovely. Your microphone makes you sound lovely.
The like back to school colds has just hit hard in our home.
I understand. My son was home yesterday, so I get that.
It's like just these 2 months of bliss in the summertime when no one gets sick. And then suddenly it's like we're just rolling through it. When I finished reading the audiobook, I thought, wow, there's so much in here. This is the manual. And there's a section in there of how to be the mother-in-law you want to be. And first of all, for listeners who have even clicked play on this conversation, you're already doing this work. You already know that something is different and you want to show up and break these cycles. You're doing this work just by being in your community. I know that already. And then this other piece here is really about how do we welcome in this outsider to be part of our family, no matter what stage they are and no matter what feelings I have. Because and again, this is the triangle. So people reading through this will learn the triangle between you, your husband, and his mother. And as soon as you express your opinions about someone to your adult kid, you've just involved yourself in their relationship.
Yes.
And there's this research, it's the psychological term is called psychological reactance. A research of grade 8ers. It's old research. It still applies today. You say to them, whatever you do, do not go to the library and get out this book. This is pre-cell phone time. Don't get this book. The majority of those grade 8ers go and get the book.
Of course they do.
Right? And as soon as you say to someone, ooh, why are you with that person? Or, oh, I don't know, like, you know, she seems a little, but then you create this division, and that's not what we want to do. It's such a harmful thing. And again, I don't think people do it ill-intentioned, but it is a harmful thing and we don't want to do that. So creating that healthy relationship really, and I have 3 different phases that you'll go through in building that relationship. But part of it is you having your own identity, which I know you and I have talked a lot about just for ourselves as moms. And then also you welcoming the other person into your relationship.
Yes. I think about this a lot, actually, because as the mother to a nearly 13-year-old son, I am on the cusp of him dating. He's not dating now, but I'm sure in the next 5 to 10 years he will be. And so this is something that I think about. He's
probably noticed girls or boys or noticed whoever.
Yes, girls. Yeah. He has. He does like some, has some female friends. Yes. And this is definitely something that I've thought about because you don't want to overstep your boundaries. You want to be friendly and you want to be welcoming, obviously, but you don't want to be too welcoming or you scare them away, or too friendly, which might be my problem, which if you ask my son, he's like, stop, you're too friendly. Stop it. So I think it's a matter of finding the correct balance, but I think of it long term. I mean, it's one thing when you're, a teenager and you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but it's a whole other thing when we're talking about long-term committed relationships is fitting in your role. But I think one of the really big things to keep in mind is what you said is you have your own identity, which is separate from their identity. And that's okay. You could be welcoming and you can be accommodating in all of those things. And I think that's super, super important. You know what I was going to ask, and I don't know if you ever received this as a question, but it's something that's top of mind for me. What about the relationship between the two mother-in-laws?
Oh, yeah.
Do you get that one a lot?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is around these comparisons that show up. And anytime we compare ourselves to someone else, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't go well. It's not a helpful process. And we have to ask ourselves, what's the comparison really about? And it is about insecurity and feeling like you matter. That's often what we do. Am I enough? Do I matter? Like that's at the core when we're comparing. And so as a daughter-in-law, and I've had this question many times recently, which is, how do I make both sides happy? Yeah. And my question back to them is, well, what's your value? Is your value to make sure everybody's happy, or is your value to remain in connection with people? And it's in the context of the question was about grandkid relationships.
Let's talk about that. Can we explore that a little bit?
It is the value to nurture a relationship between grandparent and grandchild. So it's not about it being equal. It's not about if it's, one weekend with one family, the other weekend with the other, but it's this reassurance to each parent that they do matter and they play their own special role. So I wouldn't even entertain that conversation. If one party is coming in saying, well, you see them so much more, you can say, I can understand that feels hard for you. And you don't have to say anything else to that. You don't need to justify. And that's the challenge that I think so many of us get stuck in, is we start to over-explain and justify why we do the things we do. And instead of just validating that feeling, I know that feels hard for you. You can also emphasize and do the reassurance, which is, focus on building your relationship. And we'll be here to help foster that as long as you're continuing to show up and be present and respectful to our kid and to us. We'll be here doing that. And it might also be in terms of that kind of putting that limit on it, which is like, I'm not going to enter that conversation when you want to do this comparison thing, because you're all important to us and they just want to know they're important. So then the other thing for families then, for people listening, is you might decide to do a bit of pruning. I use this analogy. It's like pulling back the hedges. And so instead of going to your mother-in-law's house, let's say it's her that's saying, well, you saw them last weekend. Why haven't you seen us? And you were with them, instead of then being so open about everything that you're doing, you pull back. That's a self boundary. You pull back what you're sharing, and then you decide to share other things. You talk about the kids' sports, you talk about the kids at school, you talk about that trip you might take together, just the four of you, but you don't say, oh, when we were at the other grandparents' house, when we did this with my parents, right? We just pull back what we're sharing, because it's not helpful if grandparents are doing this comparison game.
Yes. Yeah. That's something that I see often, not only in my own experience, but in many of my friends' experiences as well.
Oh, it's just this insecurity. You are important. You matter to us. You have this relationship. How do you want the relationship to be? If you want to be part of what we do, then, I go to the park every Sunday. Do you want to come and be part of that? I would love to have you there. The kids would love to have a picnic with you. Why don't you bring dessert? Right? So we're bringing them in rather than arguing with them about why families are different, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Oh, that's super helpful. I'm sure people are going to take notes on that part. Speaking of taking notes, I want to ask more about the vault method.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because that is the major framework of this book. So let's jump into that.
So the vault method is a 5-step approach, and I really tailor it so that you're going to have all of these exercises that I do with couples in my therapy room. You're going to be able to do it at home by yourself, ideally with your partner. There's also a little piece at the end if your partner's not on board that I give a good, this is like your tear out section where you give to your partner. You leave the book on the coffee table so that it's a conversation piece, and then they have a tear out section for them. Go for it. So the vault. Okay. The vault came as this analogy of what's a sturdy system that we have. And I kind of even think of Taylor Swift and how often she has these vault tracks. I'm not a big Swiftie expert, but the vault tracks, right? What's stored in your vault? And in your relationship, you want to be sturdy and secure inside this unit. It's you two. So then any weathering comes your way and you are together. It's not to keep people out, but it's to really solidify who are you together. And so each letter stands for what you're going to do in that step. So the first step is about values. We're going to identify what really matters to you and your partner. You have to do this piece first, because if you go into talking about boundaries and say, I don't want to go for every Sunday night dinner now that we have a 4-week-old because 7 p.m. is witching hour and I can't be there, that if we start there, we'll just like, as I said recently to a couple, you're both putting a stake in and we're not getting anywhere. So we can't start there. What's really important to you? So that's the first one. The second one is, so many people, Tara, come to me saying, we got married and we had the same value of family, but now he wants to go over there for patisseries every Saturday. And I'm like, where's our family time? So now we're going to go from 35,000 feet in the air down to the ground level and look at our aspirations. I have this really cool list of questions in this chapter. When my sample readers were my friends and colleagues were going through it, one of my friends had the list and she goes, do you mind if I take this to my husband now? Because we don't know what we don't know. And there are questions in there that even I didn't know to ask in those early days as a new mom or getting married. So it's a great resource. The third step is understanding. So this is the you, understanding your triangle. We have got to understand what's happening. And I'll give just a one-liner. When two people are in conflict and there's stress, distress, and anxiety, we bring in a third to alleviate that conflict. But triangles always lead to a weakening or problem between other people. Mm-hmm. So that chapter is really about getting out of that triangle. And then the fourth step, I'm not leaving people hanging. This is your limits and boundaries. You are going to learn how to what is this boundary thing? We keep using this word. What's it actually about? And the best piece about this chapter is you're going to learn how to do it with your partner. Because the number one hang up that I hear from people is, I want him to set the boundary and he doesn't see why. So we're in the nitty gritty on that one. And then the last step is take action. How do we actually on the ground running, we're, heart's racing in the car ride over and you're knocking in the door or you're leaving and you're like, whoa, what was that? This is really about you taking action of how you're going to move forward, to set the boundaries, to follow through, to look after relationships.
I love it. I read this entire book and I want everyone else to read it too. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh, I love knowing that. I don't often get to know when I'm in interviews if someone read it or not. So
do you think
know
that people
the stories.
don't read them?
I think sometimes people flip through it.
Yeah.
But the piece, I don't know about you, but the heart of the book is the stories of...
Are they, I'm sure you changed the names, right?
Yes.
So it was Becky and Cliff and all of those guys. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All Becky and Cliff. Oh, and the phone. Oh my goodness. I'm chuckling because I think so many of us go through these experiences and then we put our head on our pillows and we're like, why is it just me? Am I crazy? Am I the crazy one? Am I this crazy making experience? And then I'm sitting with people and I literally said this to someone a few months ago. So the book was already written, edited, done and sealed. And I said to someone I was coaching, I said, listen, my book's coming out in November and there's a story in there that sounds exactly like this. And I want you to know it's not your story, but you are not it just gives me chills because there's this cross landscape experience, which really is cross-generational, cross-cultural, different religions. It's such a struggle.
It's wild. That is wild. There's so much, but this could be a 3-hour episode.
We could just keep talking.
No, it really could.
And then we need to bring in the stories of others. We need to have a call in.
Well, that's the thing. That's how it becomes a 3-hour episode. But in lieu of that, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm super curious to see what your answer is going to be. Tracy, what do you think is the biggest modern mom problem today?
Too much information and not enough trusting of ourselves. And I say that even wholeheartedly thinking about how you have this new baby and then an in-law or your own mom shows up at your door and then they have opinions and things that they say. And it's like, how do I trust myself? Or you open up social media and right away there's all of the things. And it's the, how do I trust myself? And so oftentimes I say to moms today, just go inwards, listen to yourself, then listen to this podcast, of course. Please do that.
And Tracy's.
But listen to yourself. We have too much information that we've really lost connection to us.
Yeah, yes, 1,000% yes, absolutely, unequivocally, 100% yes.
I love that question.
Thank you. I'm going to put all of the answers, well, not all of them because I have like 100 something episodes, 200 episodes, but I'm going to put many of those answers together into one compilation episode. I just haven't gotten around to that yet, but stay tuned for that. So tell everyone where we could buy the book, where we could listen to it on audiobook. Tell us all the things.
Yes, available on all formats, Kindle, buy the book, tell your friends about the book. That's one of the best things that you can do to support a book. And you can pre-order it now. So it's available November 4th, and go to my website. So it's the easiest place to find all of my resources, and it's drtracyd.com.
Beautiful. And is this the type of book that we could like finish and then hand over to our spouse or our partner and give it to them too? What do you think?
Oh, yes. Yes. And I don't know if you and I had a chance to talk about this, but my first book completely surprised me because I was getting more messages from men saying, oh, I get it. And they're like, wow, I needed this book. And I identified so much with Matt in the book. And I was I know the look on your face. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because
we didn't talk about this. That's wild.
No. And it was the men coming to me saying, oh, I really needed this. And I needed to hear the stories and I needed to see it framed in this way. So yes, my books are not written to blame or shame anybody. I come in with such a holistic view using systems theory, using our dynamics that, you know, what's even better is you're sitting on the couch. The kids are they've asked you for the 100th time for that glass of water. And you said, yes, we're done. And then you open it up and you're like, oh, hey, love, listen to this story. And you read through, you know, whoever it is in the book. And they're like, wow, that sounds intense. And then you can go forward talking about it because this is about conversations. It's not coming in saying, how do we get rid of your mom? It's the question of how, and curiosity with this, how do we build better relationships for all of us?
Yes, so well said. Dr. Tracy, thank you so much for being here. I absolutely love chatting with you.
Oh, thank you, Tara.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.